Hello, everyone. I hope you can see me and you can hear me. My name is Ricardo Rodriguez. I am with Coldwell Banker in Boston, Massachusetts. Thank you very much for all of you to pre-register and be here. Right now we have, as I mentioned, close to 1,000 people pre-registered for this session. We have people from all over the world, not only the United States, but from several countries in Latin America and in Europe. So thank you very much for your interest. I don't blame you. If I had this panelist, I will be right here where we are. So thank you very much again for your interest in this conversation. Before I start, I would like to thank some people. I would like to thank Jason Rivero, Caitlin McMurdoch, Alvaro Cardenas from Relogy, who have helped us put this entire infrastructure for this session, and also to my dear associate Josh Carr for really putting up with all my crazy questions at last minute. So again, thank you, everyone. As you know, the conversation is going to focus on lessons from the luxury market segment, and we have, some of the top luxury leaders in the world in this session, and I do mean that. Everybody here is really at the top of their game when it comes to real estate, and in particular to that market segment. And I am very fortunate to know all of them personally and professionally. And I would say that in both of those cases, it has been a highlight of my life, to know them as friends and to know them as professionals. So thank you to all the panelists for being here today. I know how busy you are. So let me start with the man, the legend, the only one, Mr. Craig Hogan. So Craig, if you haven't heard from him, which I doubt it, he is the vice president for luxury at Coldwell Banker. He is the responsible for our amazing global luxury brand. By the way, just 2 days ago, he had an entire certification training with 1,200 people from around the world, like actually a groundbreaking session and course. It's changed the way in which we're going to be doing that kind of certification course. And by the way, he put that together in a few weeks. And so Craig is here to give us a quick overview of what he sees from his, that high level point of view as to what is happening right now with the luxury market segment. And so Craig, welcome. By the way, it was great to see you last night with Rudy, and say hi to Rudy, please.
Yeah, that was fun. We had an impromptu, what do they call it? A virtual cocktail party.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That was a lot of fun. That we put that together in 5 minutes too. So it's great to be here. Thank you, my friend, for having me. And what I'm going to share with you is kind of a 30,000 foot view of what we see and what we hear. And the benefit that I get being in this role is that I'm talking to the agents every day. So the information that I get is what's really happening day to day. It's not just something from the, something from the files at the home office. This is what's going on in the field. So I think everybody by now knows that 2020 got off to a roaring start. By far one of the best quarters that we've seen in a long time. Last week we heard from, and you'll hear more from Jade today. We heard from LA. We heard from Chicago. I think LA was really doing very well in their 10 million plus, and Chicago certainly was doing well in their 5 million plus. In fact, I think Don McKenna reported that we had 2 record-breaking sales. So, it was a remarkable time. Then the pause button happened, but deals are still getting done. The Hamptons market, we heard, is just as hot as can be. The agents are barely able to, we heard from the Corcoran group that the agents are barely able to keep up with demand. Some of them are getting 14, 15 calls a day, which is just remarkable. And I don't blame them. That is certainly a place we'd like to be. You'll hear more from Danny today, but he did report to us that Miami's on a bit of a pause. The tax flight is still certainly a driver, and it would be because so many states are overtaxed. We got great news 2 days ago, I believe, in the Wall Street Journal. Their team, the Jill Zeter team, put together, listed and sold a really premium listing in the middle of the pandemic. So it just goes to show you that that is happening. And I want to say that was a 6 million plus. So that was pretty incredible. We learned yesterday from our CEO call that, and this is good news, week after week, we monitor all the MLSs across the country. And we are seeing an increase in opens, and that those are going to be our new listings, right? Listing inventory. So that is not dipping, that is actually increasing. And on the lower level of the market, transactions are taking place in many areas like nothing has happened. So in the luxury space, it's a little bit of a pause, but we do have a lot of great insight into that. So we do believe, in fact, I feel we know this is fundamentally different than the housing crisis. This is something completely different. We shut the economy off. We didn't shut the housing market off. And I think the demand is certainly there. Our websites are getting more traffic than ever before. They're looking at more listings. They're staying on the sites. They're clipping more to be looked at later, putting them in their box. And our agents are all over are reporting a lot of activity on their websites. Each week we speak to our international division, and I'm so glad that Alasdair's here to talk more about that. But each week we speak to our international division to hear what's going on in all 44 countries that we operate in. And definitely a pause over there. And I know that Italy is about to open back up. But here's a bright spot in the news with Italy. We somehow or another, we brought in 2 or 3 new franchisees into our Italian offices, and we launched a full global luxury office, which is a standalone luxury office the Coldwell Banker Network has. We have about 12 in the world. Launched last week. We had a virtual ribbon cutting, and the lights are on, and it's beautiful, and pretty soon there will be people in it. So we're just really excited for those guys over there. We also heard that lenders are slow. There's a few hurdles to overcome when it comes to that. And so we heard from some of our top agents that they're navigating that and figuring out a way to get around it. And they're just having to be very creative, but that's the best thing about realtors. We are a creative group of people. As a brand, we have not really seen a significant decrease in price. And 3/4 of our agents, we learned this yesterday, 3/4 of our agents are reporting that price reductions are not necessarily in the mix right now for their premium listings. So we think that's just a great sign. And we feel that for our brand, and I know there's other brands on here, but for our brand, we feel like we have the lion's share of the listings out there in the luxury space. And this is going to put us in a good place when the foot is off the brake and we're able to reopen. The state and county orders are definitely having an impact. Some states are not as impacted as others. Here in Chicago, we got extended for another month. So that's, it is what it is. Some states are opening up and some have more restrictions. So we're not able to do the things we would normally do, but it's hard to get a gauge on how that's affecting everybody. But that's my report for you. So I hope that worked for you.
Thank you, Craig. And I forgot to mention this. I encourage you to submit your questions. We are going to try to cluster as many questions as possible into a single one so that we could ask our panelists. I know Craig is going to stay for the rest of the session with us. So if there are any specific questions, additional questions to Craig, please submit them. I actually have one that I got, on my phone. By the way, if you see me with my phone, I'm not taking selfies. I'm actually reading the questions. And when I put my glasses, and with my big hair, I really do think that I look like that guy from that Up movie, the old guy with balloons, big hair and little glasses. And so I apologize for that. But regarding this question for Craig, and actually, if you don't mind me going back, Craig, yesterday, and I'm going to say who it was because I don't know where this person is with the contracts, but we heard anecdotally, there's a lot of business in the luxury market segment on the pipeline. And somebody yesterday was able to capture a couple of $10 million listings on that market.
Yeah, $17 million in listings in one day. So one was a referral, which they are able to, with the mask and the gloves and the booties and all that, they're able to go in and do things. They don't touch doors or anything, but they're able to show in that state. And then there were 2 $10 million transactions listings that came in. So it was, a banner day yesterday for that particular office and agent.
And so actually the question is related to this. So the question is, will the luxury market segment drive the recovery as we come out?
Well, I believe that answer is yes. I think I've always felt that luxury leads the way. High tide lifts all boats, I think. And I think in my experience of 25 years of being in this industry, I think luxury does lead the way. I think you'll see it. Boy, I hope I'm right. If I had a crystal ball, though, I wouldn't be doing this, right? But
yeah.
but I do believe we're going to see that, because there's a lot of anticipation and pent up demand out there, and people are wanting to get moving.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you. And so again, I encourage you to submit questions through the chat. I might not be able to see them if you text me directly, because I'm talking to these guys, but please do it through the chat. And so thank you again. And so this brings me to our panel conversation. As I mentioned to all of you, I am so happy and excited that all of them agreed to be in this conversation. By the way, it took all of them maybe 5 minutes to respond yes. So thank you very much for that quick response and vote of confidence. And so let me introduce all of them, although they need no introduction, and then we can start the Q&A. I'm going to start with the most beautiful one here, obviously, Miss Jade Mills. Jade, if you don't know of Jade, Jade is the #1 agent worldwide. She's out of Coldwell Banker in Beverly Hills. One thing that I would say, and I think that this cuts across everybody in this panel, is that that all of them, Jay and everybody in this panel, show us that despite incredible success in business, that to remain generous and to share and to be gracious, it's an important part of how do you conduct that very successful business. So Jay, thank you very much for being here. Say hi to Adam. I know Adam is behind the scenes helping you a lot. And
he
so
is.
Be here.
Thank you so much.
And so then let me introduce to you Danny Hertzberg. By the way, Danny, that video of you helping, teaching your daughter brush her teeth, that literally helped me relax and go to bed last night. Otherwise, it would have been up all night. So that was so cute. Danny is with the legendary Jill's Zader Group out of Miami, Coldwell Banker in Miami. They are the #1 team in the US. So thank you, Danny, for being here.
Thank you.
Also, I would like to introduce Laurent Demeure. Laurent is the founder and CEO of Coldwell Banker France and Monaco, and he is a powerhouse. But if you want to meet like a double powerhouse, you have to meet his wife, Vanda. So Laurent, say hi to Vanda. I hope that you're watching, Vanda. Hi.
She's behind.
Hello, hello. And now this actually speaks to the breadth of our network. So this is not just a conversation among Coldwell Banker agents. This really speaks to the strength of our business, because I know we have also people outside of watching outside of the Realogy family. I know there are people from other companies outside of our group, but within our group, I would like to introduce Scott Stewart. One of the loveliest people you will ever meet. Scott is with the Corcoran Group in New York, and he is Manhattan Salesperson of the Year. So hi, Scott. Thank you for being here, and say hi to Bruce, please.
I will. Thank you so much for inviting me, Ricardo. It's a pleasure to be here with everyone. Thank you. I'm honored.
No, thank you. And then last but not least, Alasdair Hedley. Now, I am a tequila drinker, and this man made me drink a lot of wine one day. Thank you for introducing me to wine, Alasdair. He is incredible. He is the head of international for Hamptons International in London. So thank you very much for being here, Alasdair.
It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you very much for having me.
And so I'm trying to move this along. Those of you who know me, I talk a lot, so I'm going to edit myself so we can hear from these guys. But let me tell you where this session come from. I think that, in the past couple of months, those of us that are part of this incredible networks like the Coldwell Banker Network and the Realogy Network have had the opportunity to really share best practices among each other. And it's been a nice opportunity to kind of like lift each other kind of like, up. But what I wanted to do is to use the opportunity to speak with all of our panelists in a manner that was maybe a little bit more detailed and a little bit more personal, talk about those specific tips and best practices that they're utilizing right now as we are all kind of like reinvent our business. I would say that it's been great to see that. personally, I think that one of the biggest challenges that we have coming out of this, again, we are as creative as it comes, so we'll figure out how to do the business. But I do think that one of the most impactful things that we are starting to discover is kind of like that emotional impact of this crisis on all of us and on our client base and our communities. And we know how emotional real estate is as a business. You know, all of those who practice and know how much, you know, how personal it can be. I also think that in my experience, the luxury market segment is even more experiential and personal. And so I'm going to throw this question out there to Jade. From your experience, you know, this very high level on the luxury market experience, by the way, some of the, you know, the highest transactions in the world have been, you know, on Jade's hands. And so from your experience on the luxury market segment, what is that one lesson that you can share with us, that one thing that we could use right now and that could be applicable to all market segments, all across, or maybe even other businesses that have to do with that personal nature and emotional nature of what we do?
Well, first of all, let me just say, Ricardo, thank you so much for having me. And I'm so honored to be here with my friends. These are all my friends, and I respect them all, and they are the best in our business. So I thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Now, as far as the luxury market, what is luxury? Because people ask me all the time, what do you consider luxury? Luxury, hopefully, we give the same service to every single client. Every one of my clients is a luxury listing, a luxury person, should be treated with that same special treatment that everybody gets. So I think that what I've learned from my most expensive listings is those clients want to be treated with respect. They definitely want a lot of attention. They want to feel special. And I think that what I've learned is that's what everyone wants. When you take a listing, they want to feel like you're giving them all of your time, that they are maybe the only listing you have, even though we all have 15 or 20 or more listings. They want to feel special. So I would say what luxury is to me is just treating someone the way that you want to be treated, and make sure that they have all of your time if they need it. That they're a very important thing in our business is to return your calls immediately. I always say when I go on a listing appointment, if you want me, I will call you back in 45 minutes. If I'm in an appointment and you leave a message, I'll come out of that appointment and call you back. A luxury listing is, if it's $100 million or if it's $1 million, everyone should be treated with that same respect. And what I have learned working in a lot of luxury, in the luxury division, is why can't everybody have that service and be treated that way? So I think that luxury across the board is just treating someone like you want to be treated if you list your own house.
Yeah, no, that's really important. Thank you, Jade. I think that, yeah, I think you're right. You know, luxury is not a price point. Luxury is an experience. And so that experiential thing should come across all your market segments. And I think for those of us that are right now kind of like trying to reinvent our business or create a different strategy for business, I think that is actually a very useful tip, is just to keep this consistency in which it's not about the price point, it's about the way in which you do your business. And so thank you. I think that makes a lot of sense. On that kind of like a conversation, we've heard a lot about technology and this advent of technology as somehow in some people's opinions as like the savior of the business. And so I know that there has been a lot of debate as to, from a business that is very emotional and personal, how do you translate that technology? How do you use one to help you translate the other one? So Danny, I know that you are very, technology based, you're very in tune with that aspect of the business. quick question: where do you stand in that debate of technology versus that personal touch? And if you don't mind me asking, have you rediscovered, maybe there are some existing technology tools or some new tools that you have discovered that have allowed you to really continue to articulate that personal part of your business through that technological method?
Great question, Ricardo. Thank you for the opportunity. I mean, I think it's helpful to take a step back because right now, as you said, everybody's talking about technology, virtual tours. We're hearing it every day. What I think about is over a decade ago, before I was in the business, I was in law school, and over one summer, I started saying to my mom, she had a very big business with her partner, Jade, but they were doing very traditional advertising. It was direct mail, newspapers, magazines. This is over 10 years ago, and it was working incredibly well. And I started saying to them, look, it's time to build a digital brand. You need to have a web presence. We need to start doing early social, email marketing. And my mom was kind of like, you know, you do it, knock yourself out. So I spent the summer working on the digital side of the brand. And I got very excited about it. I was getting my master's in business, and it was an area I loved. And I created that part. But when I came into the business, got my license, started putting deals together before I finished school, and was off to the races. But when I came into the business, I had a huge misconception. I thought that within the first year, I would have our team at 90% or 100% digital, because I thought that was the future. This was 10 years ago. And I was dead wrong. The first week of business, I saw somebody show up, with a brochure to see a listing that they picked up, that they received in the mail, and they fell in love with the property, because real estate is different than every industry. It's not buying an airplane ticket. It's not leasing a car. It's so personal, the touch and feel of it. And I realized that my mom jokes that she's old school and I'm new school. And what we both learned is both matter. So you have to embrace technology, but you have to look to the past and take those things about real estate. And the reason I bring that up is if we fast forward to today, right before pre-COVID, let's say, in the past year, there's been so much talk about disrupting the real estate industry, right? It's been all about the Uberization of real estate. And all the smart people are talking about, you guys are going to be out of business within a few years. People are buying their groceries on Amazon. They're going to buy their houses with a click. You hear about all these iBuyer platforms, Zillow, Open Door, raise billions of dollars, right? And their theory is that we're relevant. Now you can buy and sell everything online. But if there was ever a moment, and I made this point before, and I'll say it again today, if there ever was a moment for the iBuyer platform or for Zillow to replace the agent, it would be right now, because people are worried about social contact, right? And what are we seeing? All of those platforms are failing, completely failing. In fact, they've stopped buying. And what they found out, which is very interesting, is the iBuyer platform is that you get an automatic offer as a seller, sight unseen. So what happens with a sight unseen offer? It's an extremely low offer with a lot of fees. Very few people will take those low offers. And the few that do, those iBuyer platforms, what do? They fix up the home and then they list it on the MLS with open houses and traditional real estate. Why are they doing that? They're doing that arbitrage, right? They're taking advantage of people that have to sell and then selling the traditional way. So I think it's a really clear picture that, yes, technology does disrupt an industry, but it doesn't, the old techniques, the tried and true parts of the business, face-to-face, having a trusted expert, being with a global company, they all matter. And I think that it's important when we're using the tools, and I love it. I'm the first to embrace everything that comes out. I'm using social, paperless transactions, all of that, digital closings, but I realize real estate is unique and different. And I think we all have to be reminded of that, because even in this environment, across the whole country, I've heard of just a handful of sight unseen deals. And even those sight unseen deals, people are really still wanting to go to the property. Unless it's a piece of land or it's a tear down, they're making a bid to be expected to go visit. So the virtual tours are important. It's kind of narrowing down the filter. But at the end of the day, people want a professional to speak to. They want the valuation. This estimate is great. It's a fun thing to look at. But I'd rather hear Ricardo giving me a valuation in Boston than a program spitting out numbers that's going to be inaccurate. So that's kind of my whole take. I think we have to embrace it. I think technology is incredibly important, but real estate, people want to feel the light. They want to look at every room. It's an emotional reaction that you have to be through it. And the last part of your question about the tool, there's a lot of different tools, but I really think the most important one for our industry is what we're doing right now. It's the virtual meetings, and it's Zoom and Teams. Those are the two biggest platforms. And it's not just getting on, you know, the Zoom call or the Teams meeting. It's being able to use it at a high level, enable waiting rooms, mute people when they're making noise, do a share screen and take people through a presentation, because people still want face-to-face, and this is the way we'll do it. So I think we all need to really get comfortable with this kind of, you know, platform for now and for the future.
You know, I absolutely agree. Actually, I know that I personally, and I spoke to most of you about this, I have found this whole conversation through this video-based systems to be a very effective way of communicating, not only, you know, among ourselves as colleagues, but also with our clients. Like, I know we've been doing all of this showings as if we were in the home, literally an actual presentation, not just sending a video, but actually standing virtually in front of the client and having this direct conversations like we will have in front of a live showing. But let me ask you furthermore, Danny, if you don't mind, what would be your advice to people who need to, you know, look through all this noise? Because there are all these systems, tools, all this stuff that get thrown at us at every time. We get all the ads and every single day in every single social platform. What is your take on that? Because I personally think that people should find the tools that are the best for them, not the best for their colleagues or anybody else, but the best for them that correspond to their own business. What is your take on that?
I agree. It's mastering a few tools rather than being able to use everything. I think that you have to get very comfortable as far as a paperless transaction right now. So, you know, digital signing, which was already going on before, storing all your documents digitally is critical, right? Forget paper files. If you want to print things out as a backup, that's fine, but this is the time to fully embrace that. And then as far as the marketing tools, there's so many, but I think the driver in real estate, particularly luxury real estate, is really Instagram. That should be one tool to put all your energy into. And within that, focus on the stories. That's where I think you'll have the best ROI, is staying there, focusing there, and kind of tune out everything else that's coming in, because that's where I think you'll be most productive.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Thank you for that, Danny. Which brings me to kind of like the next point, which I find amazing about our business, is how resilient real estate is as a business and how resilient we are as real estate practitioners. I think that we underestimate how creative we are. And now you're seeing that we are utilizing all these tools that we never thought of using as part of our, you know, as part of our business. But I think that we are seeing a mixed use of those tools out there. And then we are also seeing a mixed kind of like reaction to it. I think the easiest way to see it is, as you said, Danny, is through social media, where you see a lot of agents really doing a heavy output of content. And I would say that they tend to be, for the most part, top producing agents that are really creating more content. And it's not fancy content, it's very personal content through iPhones and things, and things of that nature. And so, but I guess that resilience and that creativity is the most important thing take out from this whole situation. And so, Laurent, I want to put you on the spot right now and then ask you, what is it that you are hearing from your associates? We've all practiced real estate for a while. We have all seen the ups and downs, different markets. Obviously, this one is a completely different, market situation or crisis that we're in. But we've been up and down. We know those fluctuations totally happen, and they happen certainly on the luxury market segment, sometimes more often than in other market segments. So, what is your recommendation for people listening? Should they go, high action right now and then just go for it? Or should they be cautious and see, because the situation evolves almost, I wouldn't say daily anymore, but evolves on a regular basis. Should they be more cautious? Or so where do you think people should stand? And have you heard any amazing ideas from any of your associates?
Sure. Well, we are facing a situation that no one have ever seen in the world. It's the first time in history, half of the population of the world is at home. So never seen that anywhere. So we are all facing a new world. So we have to adapt. We have to think about what's going to be the future, how we're going to work behind all of this. Well, truly, in France, we've done 8 weeks of lockdown. So we have 2 weeks ahead. We should expect to go out May 11. So that's good news. 2 weeks to wait. And it's very strict because we are not allowed to go outside. If we have to go outside for professional reasons, I have to write a form to give the authorization to the agent to go out from his home. So it's very strict. There's a lot of police control. So of course we have to reinvent the business. So my main concern when it happened, the first day of the lockdown, I did a meeting like this one with all my team, my direct team. I said, guys, we don't know where we're going, whatever. We have to survive and we have to reinvent ourselves, whatever. Situation will be very different in the future. Of course, it will stay a business. It will always be a people business, but the situation will be much more different. So what we're going to do in 8 weeks now and 10 weeks, we are going to reinvent the company. We have to readapt everything. What we've done well, when we started in real estate, I asked my guys, all my team, all my people to say, when you started your career in real estate, what was your dream? And where are you today? Did you overperform? Did you underperform? What you have done well? What you have done, you could do better? Now you have to reassess everything. You have an opportunity at home to reassess everything. And the map, you have to draw your own future by yourself. Because whatever you have good cards in your hand or bad cards in your hand, at the end of the lockdown, everybody will have a new game. We'll all start on the same time, on the same lane. So be prepared to run faster than the others. Yeah. Whatever was your position before the lockdown, you could be behind or you will be on the front lane, whatever. Now we all go on the same lane at the end of the lockdown. So we have to reinvent. Just try to dream the company as you ever dreamed. So we work very hard on this. We create a virtual company. Now, after 8 weeks, we know that we can run a company from home. Yeah. We can do everything from home. We create new platform. Last week, we launched a new website. Every day we have 2 meetings with all team. We hire new marketing people during the lockdown. We hire also someone for servicing clients. Just someone to be online to help them. You need something, we're here. To be sure, everybody will have response. Everybody will know what we're going to do. And of course, as Danny said, most of the startups in the future, they just believe they will replace agent. And this is not true. They all fail because they never know it's a people business. But we are going to take that technology. We've taken that technology. Now we are able to do real virtual property tour. Not a video, not a PowerPoint, but we are able with the technology to do, the agent can be there with his client, have a meeting, an appointment to do a virtual tour. We're able to do it. We're able to do a lot of things. So the agent will be stronger than ever after the lockdown. It should understand the situation, that something will change, of course, because as Jade said, treat others as you want to be treated. And I'm not sure I will accept someone to come in my home in the next weeks, even he has the right to do it. I'm not sure I want people to come in the home with kids touching everything. Now, I just want to be sure I will have a real buyer, someone which has taken his decision to buy. So with virtual tour, we're going to have a full leverage to increase the quality of our job, of a business. We are not going to lose time to show properties that there is no interest for the buyers. We're going to focus on real buyers. We are going to increase the way we are service our clients, the follow-up with digital, and of course, we are going to be present with them all the time because it's a people business. We are going to bring emotions, but emotions with technology. And all the startups, they just bring technology. They have never been able to understand what emotion is. And real estate is about emotions.
Yeah.
So I'm very confident for the future, truly. I'm very confident. Just reinvent yourself, just think what you want to do and just reassess your plan.
Yeah. So a quick follow-up, Laurent, if you don't mind. It seems like a big discovery that we've all, big aha moment for all of us is that we can actually work from home. Do you think this sudden discovery is going to change the kind of like the office, the actual brick and mortar operation? Because we are, we share a lot when we are in the office environment. Do you think this is going to change the need for the office? Is it going to be, is the office going to be reinvented? It's coming from you.
Truly, I'm just asking myself if we need offices right now. Just asking myself, do we need to spend money in offices? That's true. But just to show you, the first week of the lockdown, it was impossible to go out, of course. Vanda, my wife, she has two buyers from Russia, and they were in Moscow, and they want to buy property in the French Riviera. So of course, she cannot travel, she cannot go for a property show. She cannot. So she said, well, I'm going to sell 2 new developments. So she sold 2 new dev. One deal at 5 million and the other deal at 6 million. Because with new dev, you don't need to show. The whole marketing material, it's available online.
Yeah. So
for second-hand homes, we have to take the new developer, their marketing, and we have to adapt on the market also. So, and for my team, we have meeting every morning at 9:30, every meeting at 5. So we talk more than ever.
Yeah.
We talk more than ever. Because in the real day, when you are at the office, one is on meetings, the other one go outside, and we never seen. Wanda, now we home. She told me, Laurent, we're together, but I never seen you. You work all the time with your team, with clients.
That's been
crazy.
much harder. Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's very, very true. Very,
Yeah.
very true. Well, thank you. And I'm going to pivot a little because I want to ask Alasdair different kind of like type of question. It's something that has come very clear to me is, how much messaging is being thrown at us. Like I was sharing with with you earlier that I think in the course of 1 week in the same publication, I read a story about how people were going to just run away from cities and people were going to abandon cities. And then at the end of the week in the same publication, there was a story about how people are afraid of commuting and public transportation. And so they're going to stay in the cities. And literally in 5 days, there were 2 different takes to the future of real estate. Alasdair, you are in one of those companies that is very integrated in this sense that you have all these divisions that are like part of one. So you have the residential, you have the investment, you have the commercial, all of that stuff. What are you hearing from all of those different segments that is a commonality? What is that one question that you are hearing from clients and from your associates? And if you don't mind me asking, what is that question? What is that answer that you are giving them? That I wouldn't call it an elevator speech, but like, what is your answer to that the one single pressing question that you keep getting?
Yeah, it's a great question, Ricardo, and thank you so much for having me join you. And firstly, I hope that everyone that joins us is safe and well and in positive spirits also. Do you know, I think understandably people have got a lot of questions about what's going on across the housing market, not just here in the UK, but obviously around the world. And of course, I guess that those questions vary dependent upon whether you're buying a house or whether you're selling a house and what your current situation is. But your question was, what's the number one question that we're hearing? And it doesn't matter whether it's buyers or sellers. I think in the luxury market, but also across the market, the number one question we're hearing is: are prices going to fall when the lockdown ends or is eased? And I imagine that that's not just here in the UK. I imagine that's the same in every single market that we're talking about. But I can answer for the UK. It's the market I understand the most. And, you know, to put things in context, I think it's important that we have a little look at where we were and potentially where we were headed just before the lockdown in the UK. And after 3 years of Brexit uncertainty here, 2020, just like the United States, got off to a flying start. And we've recorded our busiest January on record with 22% more buyers registering with us and 20% more sales being agreed than in January 2019. So we called it the Boris bounce. And, you know, buyers and sellers coming flying off the blocks, and our network hadn't been busier in the last sort of 5 years. But by the middle of March 2020, we'd agreed 10% more sales than Q1 in 2019, and our pipeline of properties that were under offer, i.e. ready to sell and with sales agreed, was 17% higher than in the same period last year. So we were looking forward to a really, really busy year. But then on the 23rd of March, like so much of the world, the UK went into lockdown as a result of the pandemic. And unsurprisingly, as everyone knows, viewings and valuations reduced significantly. And when our high street offices were physically closed, and the government insisted that, just like in France, that we couldn't go out to perform our day-to-day business in a normal way. So what's surprising, though, is that actually very, very few people have subsequently taken their properties off the market or withdrawn from a sale that they had already agreed. And in fact, it's substantial for us. 44% fewer sellers have withdrawn their properties in the last 6 weeks than they had in the 6 weeks prior to that. And I'm hearing that from all of our partners around the world, that actually the committed buyers are still there. So currently, this is not a market in free fall. This is simply a market on hold. And those looking to move before COVID-19 and lockdown are still wanting to move after it. But of course, and the other good news, I suppose, I'm not sure it's good news, but many people have been forced to stay at home over the past weeks, and they may have decided that their homes don't suit them as much as they might have done before because they're spending so much time in them. So maybe they're thinking about a move too. So the other aspect to our price is going to fall, and the evidence that sort of supports our thoughts about where that might be heading is that, you know, we watch web browsing decline rapidly here and within our networks, and now has increased 51% since bottoming out at the end of March, which I think underlines the expectation of most of the industry's economic experts who are waiting for a post lockdown. So in summary, I think that one might surmise that with the pent-up demand against a background of just marginal increases in values this year and a logjam caused by the lockdown, and still here in the UK current availability of cheap borrowing, probably prices are unlikely to fall, and if they do, it'll be briefly, maybe because people will take a little time to find their feet. So there might be a lag before the market really gets going again. But I think it was Craig who said none of us have a crystal ball, and if we did, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
And how long those restrictions will last, and is something only governments, a decision that government can make. And the government here may choose to relax stamp duty as well, which would be great because so many industries.
Alasdair, I think
lots can depend on sentiment and how that's going to translate. and how that's going to translate into volumes and subsequent values.
Yeah, you know, I will piggyback on something that you mentioned, something that we have seen anecdotally, and in the transactions that we have seen lately, is that we are not seeing necessarily prices dropping, but things are moving for the base of the range, of the price range. And so we are not seeing things going under agreement below where they should be. They're just at the base of that, of the original price range, which I think is interesting. It seems to be kind of like consistent. We are seeing it in offers from buyers. We're seeing it also with our own buyers as we are trying to put things under agreement. And so I am going to transition right now to Scott in New York. Scott, I'm so glad to see that you, Bruce, your families are doing well. You know, you unfortunately found yourself at the, you know, the epicenter of this situation. Everything has been thrown at you. I, however, know that you are a very, you know, a very positive person. And so with all of this, because every challenge has been thrown at you, with all of these challenges, what mechanisms are you using? How are you turning all of those challenges into opportunities? Because I know that's what you are doing, because I've seen you doing it. How are you doing that? How do you recommend that we move from that mindset of this is a challenge into this is a possibility?
Well, Ricardo, it's absolutely true that New York City has been the epicenter in New York, in the country, and we have been hit very hard. And we have uncharted territory ahead of us, and I've gone through so many emotions as the pandemic has settled in, from fear that my friends and family, my team members, my colleagues would get the virus, and then see that they do, and then some of them have actually died. So it's been really quite a roller coaster. Yeah. And on the flip side of that, there's the elation of a much needed rest after 24 years of selling a high volume of real estate. I have really been able to focus on my family and getting on Zoom calls and FaceTime cocktails and supporting my friends and family and clients who are isolated. And that's been a very important part of my experience as we've matured through what has been a great challenge. But the challenges have thrown up a lot of obstacles, and they've actually kept me very busy. And one of the things that I've done over these past 7 weeks now is I've really looked back at what has made me a successful real estate agent. And I really encourage everybody out there listening to do the same. Look back at what has brought you to your highest level of success. At about 21 years ago, I set a motto for myself, which was people overall. And I based all of my core real estate values on that motto. And my values are empathy, loyalty, and hard work. And this event has really kept me very busy and allowed me to reflex those core values to the point where I've had to be an empathetic ear to my clients who had already been in contract, whether they were buyers or sellers, to determine whether or not the value which they agreed to pay before the pandemic was currently the value and would be the value in the future going forward. And it's forced me to have to renegotiate quite a few deals, and using skills of empathy and listening, which are so important as real estate agents. I've been very successful in hand-holding both my buyers and sellers through the process of having to negotiate 5 to 10% off their contracts, which has been a very emotional process, and one that reminds me about how every buyer and seller, to Jade's point, no matter what the price point, is a luxury buyer in their minds. This is the biggest investment that they're making in their lives, and they need to be treated like that. Yeah. We could be dealing with a $10 million client on the team or a $700,000 client on the team, and yet they have the very same concerns. It's a major part of their financial portfolio, and they need a professional to walk them through the pros and cons, the pitfalls and the benefits of owning or purchasing their real estate. I've also taken the time, and I've also taken the time to reevaluate a lot of my business goals. My mentor, Barbara Corcoran, always says that there are A, B, and C clients. And this by no means, is a comment on who is a luxury client and who isn't. Everyone is a luxury client, but for your business model, you should be looking at your client base and choosing an A, B, and a C level. Take that C level and move them out. Move them to your team members or refer them out to junior brokers in your offices who need the business. It will not only help you free up your time to focus on your most valued relationships, but it will also help the people around you, whether team members or colleagues in the office, raise their level of business, get busy, get more productive, get richer. The higher the level you achieve, the higher the level those around you will achieve. And if you're working on a team, it's very important to take this opportunity to be generous to your team members, share your business, and focus on the A and B plus clients that you know will raise the level of your group's work. I think that is going to be an incredible opportunity for my team to really raise the bar coming out of this pandemic. I have 18 listings waiting to come onto market post-pandemic. I'm sure many of you out there have a lot of listings that you're anxious to bring to market. And I've been sharing on Zoom calls and conference calls my plans for staying ahead of the curve as we get back to an open market. And in these calls, I'm telling them about the tools that I'll be using to make sure that their properties are more accessible, such as 3D Matterport tours and having open house by appointment every day of the week. We're going to be so ahead of the market and the pace to make sure that we are providing service to our sellers and also creating access through our relationships in the brokerage community by keeping in touch with them, with our colleagues in the field. Our relationships are everything in our business. They open doors for our buyers and they bring buyers for our sellers. I'm also taking this opportunity to take risks. Now is not the time for a luxury agent to pull back on spending on their businesses. And at every downturn, I've actually used the opportunity to increase spending, to invest more in my business, to create new opportunities. So the pandemic is, forcing me to rethink how I'm going to get around Manhattan, because we're going to have a lot of restrictions. And I've been encouraged over the years to start using a full-time driver. And so upon the return, I'm going to start using a driver. I have a great car to move about in. And not only will it be safer for me and make me happier, but it will also give my buyers a luxury experience that most brokers don't provide their clients. So while this may be, sort of one level of taking risks and spending money, for those of you in suburban neighborhoods, I recommend you take this opportunity to upgrade your game. Buy a new car, invest in your wardrobe, get a social media manager who can handle that for you so that you have more time to focus on your relationships and the communication work necessary for you to create your own recovery, which has always been another motto of mine, is that I always feel responsible to myself to create my own recovery. I do not look to the firm. I do not look to my team. All the creativity comes from within us as agents. Yes. And as long as you take that seriously, you will have no problem coming back from this and probably achieve a better level of success based on the pent-up demand that we're hearing out there, that is coming to us out there.
I would say that your message of empathy and generosity, I think, is paramount. We have to make sure that everybody, that the community is in a good place. And so sharing information, supporting causes, being empathetic as to how our clients are feeling, how members in the community are, I think is important. Because if we don't have a good community in place, if the community is not settled, we have no business to go out into. And so thank you very much for for sharing that. Now we are coming to the end, and I know that we have a bunch of questions here. This is what I'm going to encourage people. There are questions that are specific to each one of you in the panel. If you don't mind, everybody's connected now through your social media handles, in particular Instagram. I would encourage you, the listeners, to maybe submit some of those questions, and I'm sure that these guys will be happy to do. Sorry to put you on the spot, but we have a couple of questions that maybe we could answer, and maybe we could give some quick answers to some of them. And one of them is then the following one: do you foresee a change in what the luxury buyer, both in urban and non-urban areas, will be demanding? For example, more outdoor space, larger kitchens, touchless systems. Who wants to take that question and give us a kind of like a brief answer? Jade.
Well, I'm already hearing that people may be wanting to move out of condominiums and into homes. I think that this has been a brand new experience, this pandemic, and I think that a lot of people all of a sudden realize that they may be in condominiums and apartments, be sharing someone else's air, or the air that's coming through their systems may be coming through other people's systems. And you have to touch the elevator buttons, and you have to see a doorman, whatever. So a lot of the people here have been saying, when this is over, I want a home. I want a little pied-à-terre. I want something that, even if it's small, I want my own space. I want my own home. Now, I know that after talking with Scott years ago about 9/11 and how everybody was going to flee the city and not buy in the high-rise buildings, that didn't last long at all. But I think for just an instant, or for some time, people are thinking, okay, I want my own space. I want my own home. Maybe won't last at all, but I have heard that.
Yeah. Something that I have heard.
Ricardo, I just want to add something really quick to that. 80% of respondents to a recent poll have said they are not considering moving out of New York City. And the 20% that did are already people who were considering moving out of New York City because of costs, a growing family, and the need for a backyard.
Yeah.
They're staying in the New York area.
Yeah, it seems what I've heard is talking about technology. The technology is going to be part of that answer. All this touchless technology, voice activation, where people can really operate in cities without having to touch everything that they encounter, seems to be one of those directions. I have a quick question also. Another one, it will be our last one since we are already at 12 o'clock, but maybe it's Danny or Craig. What about secondary markets? How do you think secondary markets are going to operate? Vacation markets, secondary vacation markets.
Sure. So, we used to be a vacation market, Miami, and I'm based in Miami Beach. So we were a very vacation focused market, let's say 10 plus years ago. Our city's transitioned to more of a year-round global destination. People call it the capital of Central South America in some ways. So we've shifted, but I'm in touch with a lot of people in vacation markets, and it's hitting those areas particularly hard. I think those areas are going to take longer to recover, and I think the price point may pull down more. But then you have exceptions, like I don't know, for example, a place like Aspen. There are so many people around the world that want a piece of that special place that it's a resilient second home destination. But there are many others throughout the state of Florida, let's say, for instance, beach towns and such, that it's going to be challenging. On the flip side, it's buying opportunities. So I think that for us as agents to send referrals to those markets through the incredible network we have through Coldwell Banker and Global Luxury, find your clients, in your market that are thinking about vacation markets. You identify the expert there, and there's tremendous value, and those places will rise after. So, it's interesting. That's my take.
Thank you. And so the time has come to end this conversation. Thank you, everybody, to the panelists for taking the time to share your expertise. It's been a lot to learn from you guys. And thank you to everybody who joined the conversation today. I want to wish you all continued health, just to you and to your families. And I wish you the best as you continue to reinvent and to reimagine your business. The opportunities are there. The sky is the limit. Real estate is resilient. We are resilient as practitioners. And so I think that despite everything that is happening, and as long as we continue to support community, we have a bright future for business and for industry. So thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so